Hi, I'm Bill Hodges, and this is Spotlight on Government. And we have Rick Homans today with us, who is going to talk to you about jobs. He is the president and CEO of the Tampa Hillsborough Development Corporation. Rick, glad to have you on the show.
It's great to be with you, Bill.
I understand that in your short tenure, and we'll talk about when you came on board, you've really done a great job of bringing some pretty impressive companies to Tampa.
Well, I've got a lot to work with. I've got a great team at the Economic Development Corporation. We've got a great group of elected officials right now all working together, and we've got a great community that I think's really at a point where it's ready to go to the next level. So we've had some great success with jobs, with capital investment, and we've got some new initiatives working with the airport, with the port, a lot of activity on a number of different fronts, which I'm sure we'll get into today.
Let's go back a little bit on your history. When did you come to Tampa, and what did you do before you got here?
I came here just about 2 years ago, January of 2012. Was living in New Mexico for 32 years before that.
Big difference.
Big difference.
We have some water here.
It's about as different as you can get. They used to have the oceans in New Mexico. They all dried up and went west from there. But yeah, we've got a very different community. The whole population of New Mexico was 1.8 million, so smaller than Tampa Bay itself, and the economy there nowhere near the complexity, the diversity that we have here in Tampa Bay. So a great switch, and I spent the last 10 years working with Governor Bill Richardson there, and
he's an interesting guy. It must have been some fun times.
It was some great times, and it was all great experience for coming here and putting a real strategy together for the Tampa Hillsborough economy.
I suspect he was very demanding, so you really have had to hit
I'm
the tee a number of times. Well, yeah. You know, your results are showing. Let's talk about an overall on the development count or corporation. Let's give our listeners a little background on what it is, what its charter is, and how it got started.
Well, the organization is a private not-for-profit. We work very closely with the City of Tampa, Plant City, Temple Terrace, and Hillsborough County. We have a contract with the county, a contract with the city, but most of our funding comes from private investors. Close to 100 different companies in Hillsborough County
really?
Contribute anywhere from $10,000 to $25,000 and up annually to the organization. We have a budget of about $2.7 million, a staff of 20 people, and we're charged really with marketing Hillsborough County, recruiting new companies, helping existing companies grow, conducting international trade missions, working on export strategies, and also we run the Tampa Hillsborough Film and Digital Media Commission as well.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
So we do all those things.
They fall under your purview.
That's right. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Dale Gordon just hired her this last year, and she's doing a phenomenal job.
You got Bollywood coming here.
We got Bollywood, which is a big deal.
You know, a lot of people aren't quite sure what Bollywood is, but I think it's fabulous. It's really the Oscars of the primarily Indian film industry,
well,
right?
It's the pinnacle of the Indian film industry, and from our perspective here, it's tens of thousands of screaming, raging fans coming here, all excited to celebrate their actors and actresses and producers and directors, their industry, and it's a great opportunity for us to show off Tampa Bay to the world, truly, because 800 million people watch this show when it's aired.
Not to mention all of the people who live here who are Indian.
That's right.
We have a huge Indian community here in the Tampa Bay area.
Well, and it's a community that's grown considerably.
And reasonably wealthy.
Reasonably wealthy, major players in all sorts of aspects of our community. And so this is a real opportunity to celebrate their community here as well. So we're working very closely. We're actually working on what's called the IFA Business Forum. The
IFA?
The International Indian Film Academy.
Okay. I just want to be sure we're still
Forum,
on Indians.
And it's part of the Bollywood Oscars.
Yep.
And it will bring leadership from India, CEOs, to appear with leadership from the United States and from Tampa Bay to talk about specific industries and opportunities. And they're actually coming here looking for opportunities here in Tampa Bay to expand their businesses. So it's going to be a great chance for us to show off what we have and really, as the mayor likes to say, dance on the international stage for Tampa Bay, which is always fun to do.
My wife and I went to India about 4 years ago, and I spoke over there, and I never have spoke to a group of people generically as a whole group who are more interested and exciting to speak to.
Yeah.
And so I think this is going to be a lot of fun for you, plus it'll be so good for this community.
Well, and the other thing that events like this and like the Republican National Convention show to the world, there's a sort of an underlying message that goes with it, is this is a big city. It's able to handle complex political, cultural, international events. And part of what my mission has been since coming here is identifying that Tampa Bay is one of the top 20 metro areas in the country. And I always tell my staff we need to behave like one. We need to position ourselves as a top 20 metro area. We need to get up every day and think like that, not like a top 100 city. And that difference is huge, you know, to our organization. If you wake up thinking that you're going to compete with Omaha, Nebraska, and all sorts of other smaller cities around the country, versus we're going to compete with New York, Phoenix, Houston, Dallas, you wake up with a different strategy. So
well,
that's
look
what
at our
we're trying
port
to do.
alone.
Port,
Our port sets us apart.
yeah, the biggest in Florida, and right now making a huge change.
Paul is doing a great job over there with his background from South America.
Absolutely, and I think what you're seeing in Tampa Bay right now is we've got people in new leadership in these key positions. You've got Joe Lopano at the airport, opening up flights to Switzerland, direct flights to
Cuba,
Panama City, to Cuba, and just recently to Seattle, daily flights to Seattle. You've got Paul Anderson at the port, completely changing the strategy from bulk shipments to container shipments. And that means we're going to be looking at distribution and manufacturing at the port.
oh, the rail and trucking and everything. And of course, this new
And the I-4 corridor.
New I-4 corridor is fabulous.
Which I love driving on. It's coming in on I-4 and then shooting right downtown on the corridor. It's
Exactly.
just fantastic. But we're all working closely together, and we're all aggressive, ambitious, have big dreams about what we want to accomplish here. And couple that with the mayor, couple that with the county commission, everybody's working together. I think we've got a winning team right now that's producing some really good results.
I'm really excited about the attitude that it's not Tampa versus Hillsborough County, but rather that it's Tampa and Hillsborough County.
Well, and not only that, but in many cases, it's Tampa Bay. It's
right, exactly. You're right.
And I've
Expanded
developed,
out.
you know, really close relationships with my counterparts in Pinellas County, particularly. So we're working on projects now, an export strategy, for example. How do we work together to export more products and goods out of Tampa Bay to international markets? How do we work together to recruit corporate headquarters to Tampa Bay, whether they land in St. Pete, in Carillon, in West Shore, downtown Tampa, the I-75 corridor? When you get those projects coming in here, it's the entire region that benefits from it. And I think that's part of thinking like a top 20 metro area. We can't think of ourselves as these small sort of subdivisions in this parochial, provincial way. We've got to think bigger, and we've got to think of ourselves as one of the big cities that's competing for our share.
Yeah, I fully agree with you. I've never liked the idea, people tell me all the time, well, I don't want to put that in Tampa. I live in Brandon. Why would I want to put that? Well, people don't fly into Brandon. Yeah. People fly into Tampa, and then they go to Brandon or Carrollwood or Plant City or wherever. But without a good core, we've got trouble.
Well, and each one of, you know, that's why we have Plant City, Temple Terrace at the table with us. And Plant City, for example, has been really interesting to work with because their target industries, you know, might be in agricultural processing, distribution, logistics, manufacturing. Whereas in Tampa itself, it might be financial services and defense. But we have to all think as one community, one larger community, and be respectful and acknowledge each other's strengths and play to those every single time. But we're all at the table working together, which I think as you look historically in this region, there's at some points been a history of real division, which I believe has held the community back in some big ways.
I agree 100%. What are some of the successes that you've had in recent years since you've been here?
Well, our whole mission is around helping to create high-value, high-wage jobs, jobs that could locate pretty much anywhere in the country, but we try to win them here, keep them here. And so in the last year, you've heard of Bristol-Myers Squibb, about 600 new jobs that they're creating. They're North America.
What kind of jobs will they be bringing in?
Well,
basically,
there's a combination of shared service at a very high level. So high level legal, human resource, accounting, to work directly with their corporate headquarters in New Jersey. They're kind of reinventing their company, and they're looking at this as the way to this new center down here as a way to build a new culture into Bristol-Myers Squibb. But also they're going to be looking at managing their global clinical trials out of here, and which is all about managing data, which is something that Tampa Bay is extraordinarily strong with. We do a lot of financial data, marketing data, life science data. Clinical trials are right up our alley. But Bristol-Myers was a big victory. Amazon going to South County with $200 million investment, 1,000 new jobs.
Yeah, but now I'm going to have to start paying taxes on stuff I buy there.
USAA, the big insurance company, building their own 500,000 square foot facility, employing 1,200 people.
So these are not, would you like fries with that kind of jobs?
These are big,
are pretty decent sized,
these are
well-paying jobs.
Yeah, these are mostly above the average wage in Hillsborough County, which is around the high 40s, low 50s. Mm-hmm. And this is why our job growth is outpacing any other city in Florida.
Is that right?
It's why our household income is outpacing any other city in Florida. It's why our unemployment rate has dropped faster than any other city in Florida.
What is our rate in this area? Do you have an idea?
It's just under 6%,
Is it really?
Right around 6% now.
Right around 6.
So you've seen it come down several points in the last couple of years.
That's encouraging.
It's very encouraging, and one of the big issues that we're going to need to work on as we continue to expand the economic opportunity is workforce training, making sure that we've got people here who are trained for the jobs of the future. And so that's a challenge that we have too, that we're attempting to help coordinate and lead from the economic development.
Since I run a seminar company, that sounds good to me too.
Could work together.
That's right.
Yeah.
It is so important. All these low-paying jobs are great. I mean, we have to have some place for these people to go. But it's really great when you get the bigger jobs because of the multiplier effect.
Absolutely.
It'll give you all those would you like fries with the jobs that go along with it, right?
Well, and you create career ladders in the community. You don't want people to feel in a community like there's a ceiling on how far they can go. You want somebody who starts in a minimum wage job to move up to a higher wage job, and then to build the skills through community college or online courses to move into another profession and keep climbing the ladder of opportunity. So that's where we take our work very seriously, is that it creates opportunity for people living in the community, and we want people to stay here. The last thing you want is you don't want to see a flight of young people from your community because they say there's no opportunity here. So our job is to help create that opportunity that keeps people here and growing.
Well, we've got USF here. They graduate a class every year,
Absolutely.
Sometimes 2 and 3 classes a year.
Yeah.
We don't want those folks going somewhere else. We'd like to keep that resource right here.
Absolutely.
Because the area has put money into USF. Yes, the state does too, but money comes from here for USF too. So we don't want to lose those people.
And USF is one of the top 50 research universities in the country. It's really got been recognized for its excellence.
And UT, I don't want to leave them out.
Yeah, University of Tampa, St. Leo University, Hillsborough Community College, and our K through 12 public school system here in Hillsborough County is ranked as one of the best too. So there's always ways to improve, but what we have to work with as a base is very solid, and we ought to give ourselves credit for it.
It's a sales tool for you too, because
Absolutely.
I've got to believe if I'm going to be a corporate executive and I'm bringing my children to this area, that I've got to have decent schools for them. And
Education.
maybe I don't want to send my kid off to college either. I'd rather have them stay here.
Yeah. Education workforce is the #1 issue, that we're always asked by any company. And if a company is considering moving from here, it usually starts with that conversation about we're having some challenges with our workforce.
Finding people?
So what we do right away is put them together with the right partners. We bring USF in, University of Tampa, St. Leo, Hillsborough Community College, the public school system, and talk about ways specifically to create bonds, connections between that company and their career placement people. And usually that solves the problem. Usually they just haven't made the connection, but once they've made that, there's a pipeline of new employees coming to them, and they're thrilled to be here.
One of the things that thrills me in particular, because I think it's just a natural fit for the area, is the medical field. And you have a program, MetaFuture, that you're working on right now.
That's right.
Let's talk a little bit about it, because I don't want us to run out of time and not have talked about it.
Well, this is a very ambitious venture, and the concept is that we have today a healthcare system that is pretty well universally acknowledged that it's pretty broken. And when you start to try to understand why, it's pretty clear that the current system incentivizes people being sick. The sicker the population, the better the industry does.
You're absolutely right. That's true.
And I don't think, people make it a lot more complicated than that, but at the simplest level, that's, I think, why we have most of the outcomes that we have, the high cost and the relatively low results compared to many other countries.
We pay twice as much for health care as any other country in the world. Twice as much.
Yeah.
And we're not near as healthy as many of the countries that pay a lot less.
Yeah. And the numbers should be flipped around the other way. And
the technology comes from here.
Well, it's all about treating the patient like a consumer. It's all about shifting the $3 trillion industry from being focused on treating symptoms when they emerge to actually shifting a little bit and treating people before they get sick, preventive, wellness, health, using as much data as we possibly can to predict what somebody might be contracting or be prone to get cancer or diabetes or heart disease, and well ahead of time treating them in a preventive kind of a way with chronic illnesses, making sure that we are really monitoring medication compliance and behavioral compliance, and they're doing everything they possibly can to stay out of the hospital in an intensive medical intervention. But all of this has to do with data. It has to do with new devices, and those are areas where Tampa Bay is second to none in the country. It has to do with really building a new medical healthcare system that's focused on prevention, focused on wellness.
How do you do that,
and using all the tools.
What are the initiatives that you're using in order to be able to do this? It's fascinating. I agree 100%. It needs to be done. But what needs to be done in the community to make that happen?
Well, the key thing is it's a supply-demand issue. You've got to create enough demand amongst the employer base in Tampa Bay, who sit down and say, we want a different kind of a healthcare system for our employees.
Oh, okay.
So
it starts at the not at the medical side, but actually in the corporation side.
That's right. It starts looking out for the consumer, for the patient, and saying, here's what we want to keep ourselves healthier, happier, more productive, to keep our costs down, and kind of rewriting the rules, and then assembling the group of suppliers in the new industry to provide that healthcare system to that population, and doing it in such a way that it can be scaled up and very quickly can become a national model for what other regions of the country should be doing. So in the end, you create the tools, the products, the technologies that we want those companies headquartered here, growing here. We want this to become as overused a term as it is, the Silicon Valley of the new healthcare industry.
I think it's a good term because people understand Silicon Valley. That's
Yeah.
where industry
It's where it
began all of this new incentives things.
And then we want to export those products out of here. And we want to benefit not only with the jobs and the companies being headquartered here, but by creating one of the healthiest communities in the country, lowest cost.
We can be your test bed.
That's what we want to be. And, you know, and Tampa Bay has a history, actually, of being a test bed in many markets.
Well, Moffitt, just
and
right there in medical.
restaurant industry in particular. And so we're accustomed to playing that role. And this is a whole new industry where I think that we have a great opportunity.
I was just in Tampa General. I had spinal surgery there. And I have to tell you, these people really have it together.
Yeah.
As far as making sure that we felt good when we went in there, while we were there, and they got us out of there as soon as was reasonably practical.
Yeah. We have some excellent healthcare providers in this market. The issue is that the industry around those providers is going to change dramatically in the next 5 years. And the question is whether we want to be part of leading that change and being a model for that change, or whether we want to watch that happen in other communities and simply follow it.
What are some of the companies from the supplier side that would be coming in to meet the models that are required by the employers?
Well, you have whole new health insurance products.
Okay.
You have data devices that are tracking quality and cost of providers from doctors to hospitals. You have mobile devices that move the delivery of healthcare from the hospital actually to the home, that can do EKG scans, that can do blood scans, that can do test your saliva for strep throat.
I was reading about some of those things.
Yeah, this is all part of the new industry and it's why a place like Tampa General and Baycare is going to fundamentally shift in the next 5 years, 10 years, to many of the services that they do will be moved out into outpatient ambulatory care, retail clinics, in the doctor's office or in the home. And they're really asking them some questions about what are we going to look like 5, 10 years down the road, because the industry is changing so dramatically around us.
You know, this little cell phone that I carry in my pocket, mine is a clunker compared to this, got a heavy case on it, but it's a clunker compared to a lot of them. But what you were just saying, this can be a lifeline between you and your doctor's office, sending back constant reports.
Absolutely.
Whatever, right?
And the wearables, the sensors that will, you know, now you can have them and they might tell you how many steps you walked today or last week, but in the future, they'll flow right into your personal health record. They'll help to monitor your progress towards whatever personal goals you might have. Your DNA sequencing will be in your health records.
Wow.
All your medical history will be in your health records that you password protect and that go with you every time that you have any kind of medical event, whether it's picking up a prescription or getting treated for the flu or something more serious in the hospital, so that whoever's treating you can have the benefit of all the information at their disposal to make the best decision possible for you.
We've got a magnificent VA here too, so there's another test bed.
Well, and the military has actually been one of the leaders with medical innovation, you know, because
With the charting, so that all of the records are on computer. I can go to any VA in the country and they've got all my records.
well, and you start to think about how the VA and the military has to deliver health care in military environments, in combat, and in very remote places. And so they're dealing with telemedicine, they're dealing with electronic records. They've really been the pioneers in many ways of this new industry. And so there's a lot that they will be able to bring to the table to inform, educate, and accelerate the growth of this industry.
Can I come to work with you? I mean, not as your employer, just shadow you. You have your hands, you have to be really a Renaissance man to be
I wouldn't
able
say a
to.
Renaissance man, but this is this is all what an economic development strategy is all about. Is you've got to have it be diverse. You've got to compete with other cities around the globe who are way ahead of us on so many
you're
things.
a master salesman.
Well,
You've painted a beautiful picture of what Tampa Bay really is.
and could be.
And is going to be.
That's right.
I think with you at the helm, that's going to be. You know, the one thing we didn't talk about, and I've only got about a minute or so, is the outreaches beyond our country.
That's right.
To international trade. You want to take just a minute, and what's all we've got left?
Well, it's an international community. You know, we've got Cubans and Germans and Spanish, Italians here. We're truly international, and we've got the port and the airport. And so what we're doing, and we've got a manufacturing base, and our exports, when you compare it to other Florida cities, our exports account for about half of what they do in other Florida communities. So we've got a lot of room to grow there. We're going to Colombia, Brazil, Panama, Germany, Switzerland. We've taken missions with the mayor, with the county commissioners, and we are promoting, marketing
I'd like
Tampa
to go
Bay.
on those too.
And they're a lot of work. They're meeting after meeting after meeting. They're selling, but they're producing results, and they're planning, as the mayor says, they're planting the international flag of Tampa Bay all over the world, which is, again, go back to, we're a top 20 metropolitan area. We need to behave like one. That's what a top 20 market does. It takes its message around the world.
You know, it's interesting the way you talk about it. You just can't help but be enthusiastic. So many cities are talking today about the late, great Cincinnati or the late, great Denver or wherever. And you're talking about the next great Tampa.
It's a great place right now, but all the assets that we've got create this incredible opportunity. And it's within our grasp, it's within our power, and we've got the right leadership in place right now to take advantage of it. So we've got some great years ahead.
Well, Rick Homan, you've got me excited.
Thank you,
I
Bill.
really am. I love my city. I love being here. I think it's a fabulous place. The opportunities here, for no matter whatever you want to do, Tampa's the place to be. Rick Homan's with us today. He is the president and CEO of the Tampa Hillsborough County Development Corp. And you've just been a wonderful salesman for Tampa.
It's been great to be here with
We're
you.
so lucky to have you in the helm.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, you're unique, you're special, and you're great. Tell yourself so often because you are, you know. And we'll see you on the next Spotlight on Government. See you then.